Have you ever wondered if your own voice could rewrite your destiny? Not the voice you use for others, but the quiet tone that echoes inside, shaping the unseen architecture of your life. That voice, so familiar you barely notice it, holds the key to everything you have ever manifested, attracted, or lost. There are frequencies in your speech that the universe hears long before you do. Each word you whisper, even in passing, carries a vibration that moves through the ether like ripples in water. You might think you are merely describing your life, but you are, in truth, creating it. Every utterance is an instruction, and the universe, ever faithful, obeys. Many souls wander through their days, unaware of this sacred exchange. They speak casually of lack, of pain, of fatigue, and the cosmos, neutral and precise, responds, "So it is." Not as punishment, but as reflection. Because this is the law that governs all manifestation. Reality mirrors the tone of your inner conversation. You see, the voice within you is not just thought, it is alchemy. Every word contains the seed of transformation. For language was the first magic ever given to humankind. Before we learned to build with stone, we built with sound. Before fire, there was vibration. And that vibration, your voice, remains the bridge between form and formlessness. The inner alchemist knows this. They understand that speech is the instrument through which energy becomes matter. They no longer use words carelessly, because they have seen how the simplest phrase can alter the geometry of the soul. They have felt how one negative sentence can harden the body, how one conscious affirmation can soften decades of pain. And maybe, in this lifetime, you are meant to remember that. Maybe you are meant to become the alchemist of your own words, to recognize that every complaint is a spell, every judgment a charm, every declaration an invocation to the unseen. Think of how you speak to yourself in silence. Those passing thoughts, "I'm not enough. I'm tired of trying." Nothing ever changes. They do not vanish into nothingness. They settle into your subconscious like stones in a riverbed, shaping the current of your days. Over time, they become the landscape through which your life flows. But here is the mystery the inner alchemist uncovers. The river obeys your voice. If you speak as if you are weak, the current slows. If you speak as if you are whole, the waters clear. Your words don't merely describe reality, they command it. The world within you is listening. The cells in your body, the patterns in your aura, the subtle field around your heart, all respond to tone before meaning. You could whisper, "I am healing 1,000 times," and still manifest pain if your tone carries disbelief. But speak it once, with sacred conviction, and the vibration changes everything. You are, in essence, a tuning fork of creation. The voice you use to describe yourself sets the frequency of your experience. Speak of scarcity, and your field contracts. Speak of abundance, and it expands. But this isn't about blind optimism, it's about vibrational truth. The alchemist doesn't deny pain. They name it gently, as a teacher. They say, "This hurt has come to show me what still asks for light." Do you feel the difference? The first voice, the unconscious one, speaks from fear, reinforcing separation. The second, the alchemical voice, speaks from remembrance, summoning integration. That is the shift that changes everything. When words stop being reactions and become creations, the inner alchemist walks through the same chaos as everyone else. Heartbreaks, confusion, silence, but they carry an awareness most forget. Nothing is neutral when spoken. They've learned to pause before uttering the next sentence, to taste it on their tongue, to sense whether it contracts or expands their energy. They understand that each complaint is a ritual of reinforcement. Each affirmation, a ritual of release. Perhaps you've noticed how people who constantly speak of misfortune seem to attract more of it. It is not superstition, it is resonance. The universe can only reflect what is broadcast. The words repeated often enough form a pattern in the subtle field, and that pattern magnetizes circumstances of similar tone. Yet there is immense hope in this truth, because if your words have been shaping your pain, they can also shape your freedom. Every time you replace, "I'm exhausted" with "I'm learning to rest," you shift timelines. Every time you replace "I can't" with "I am becoming capable," you rewrite destiny. Every time you speak to yourself with gentleness instead of judgment, you reprogram the field. This is not about pretending life is perfect. It's about reclaiming your authorship. Your voice is the pen through which the soul writes reality. The ink is vibration. The paper, your consciousness. The story, your unfolding awakening. When you speak of what you desire, do it not as a plea, but as remembrance. The cosmos doesn't respond to begging, it responds to knowing. So when you affirm, "I am love," say it as if you are remembering an eternal truth that was simply forgotten, not fabricating something new. The alchemist's speech is not loud, it is deliberate. Every phrase becomes a thread of creation woven into the tapestry of being. There is a sacred technology embedded in your language, one that most never activate. It begins with awareness. Listen today to the way you speak of yourself. Do your words soothe or sting? Do they open the heart or close it? Do they mirror fear or faith? The transformation begins not by forcing positivity, but by cultivating precision. Speak less, but speak true. Speak slowly, so your words can carry light. Speak as if every sound were a seed, because it is. You see, the ethers remember. Your words linger long after they are spoken, imprinting themselves into the quantum field. They become living entities that echo through dimensions until they find resonance. This is why certain patterns keep repeating. They are echoes of your own forgotten speech, returning for completion. But once you begin to speak differently, the echoes change. The field reorients, the energy reorganizes around your new tone. What once mirrored pain now begins to mirror peace. There is a secret that every true mystic eventually discovers. You do not need to force reality to change. You need only to speak from the state where it has already changed. When you declare, "I am free," not as a hope, but as a vibration, freedom begins to seek you. It rearranges circumstances to match your declaration. Because creation is not a future event, it is a present resonance. And so, as the inner alchemist, you learn to guard your words, not out of fear, but reverence. You become mindful of what you release into the ethers, knowing that every syllable is a spell that calls forth a reality. This is where your initiation begins, in the silence between thoughts, where you decide which voice you will amplify. Will you keep repeating the old language of scarcity and separation? Or will you begin to speak the language of light, the language that knows you are already whole, already divine, already the embodiment of everything you've been seeking? The choice, beloved soul, begins in the next word you speak. There is a sacred anatomy to your words, a living architecture that shapes the invisible currents of your life. Every sound you release is built from three elements: tone, emotion, and silence. Together, they weave the fabric of your personal universe. The first element, tone, is the color of your voice, the unseen vibration that carries your intention. You can say, "I am worthy," with the tone of disbelief, and it becomes hollow, a shell of a word that never takes root. But whisper it with calm certainty, and the same phrase becomes a portal. It opens a field, a resonance that ripples outward, rearranging everything around you to mirror its truth. Tone is not created by the mouth. It begins in the heart. When your tone vibrates with self-love, it harmonizes with the frequency of creation itself. The entire universe recognizes that sound. It is the vibration of Source remembering itself through you. The second element, emotion, is the fire that gives warmth to the word. Emotion transforms a phrase from information into incantation. You could repeat affirmations for years and see little change until you allow yourself to feel what those words mean. Feel the safety behind "I am protected." Feel the radiance behind "I am love." Feel the peace inside "I am enough." Emotion fuses language with energy. It makes your speech magnetic. Without emotion, words are dust. With it, they become light. The third element, silence, is the vessel that holds the other two. Silence is not the absence of sound. It is the womb from which sound is born. If you rush your speech, your words lose their grounding. But when you pause, even for a breath, your words draw power from stillness. The pause becomes a sacred space where vibration gathers momentum. Silence is the alchemist's crucible. It refines tone and emotion into gold. This triad, tone, emotion, and silence, determines the potency of every word you speak. When all three align, your voice becomes the voice of creation itself. But alignment requires awareness. Most people speak from habit, unaware that each phrase is a continuation of an old pattern. The inner alchemist listens first. Before they speak, they taste the vibration forming on their tongue. They sense whether it strengthens or drains. They know that words born from anxiety create more anxiety, while those born from peace expand peace. So the practice begins in observation. Spend a single day listening to your inner dialogue. Notice how often your speech carries tension. How often you say, "I have to," "I should," "I can't." Each of these phrases vibrates with resistance. They close the field around you. Now contrast them with softer, alchemical replacements. "I choose," "I allow," "I am learning." Each of these expands the field. They invite energy to flow instead of constrict. The shift may seem subtle, but reality is built on subtleties. When you speak differently, the molecules in your environment respond. Your nervous system relaxes. Your aura clears. Your cells listen. Because everything within and around you is sound made visible. The ancients understood this. They knew that language was never merely communication, it was creation. They taught that every spoken vibration travels through the ether, etching patterns into the unseen substance of existence. Over time, these patterns condense into events, experiences, and emotions. This is why complaining is so corrosive. When you complain, you're not merely describing what you dislike, you are multiplying it. You are breathing life into what you wish would fade. The universe interprets your complaint as devotion, and it gives you more of what you give energy to. But the alchemist does not silence their pain by denial. Instead, they speak to it differently. They say, "I see you, old wound. Thank you for showing me what is ready to transform." That simple phrase transmutes energy. It tells the subconscious that pain is no longer a punishment. It is initiation. Through awareness, even sorrow becomes sacred. Imagine for a moment that every cell of your body were listening to the way you speak. What story are you telling them? If you constantly repeat that you are tired, your cells comply. They dim their light to match the command. But if you begin to whisper, "I am being renewed," your biology listens too. It starts to align with that vibration. Your mitochondria awaken. Your heartbeat softens. Your immune system responds. Words are instructions to your DNA. They are codes written in frequency, activating dormant potentials within you. That is why self-deprecating humor, though harmless in appearance, carries metaphysical weight. Each joke about your flaws imprints the subconscious. Over time, the body, mind, and reality accept that as truth. But you can reclaim humor as a tool of light. Laugh, yes, but laugh with reverence. Use humor to soften fear, not to reinforce it. You begin to see that speech is a mirror. Your words show you who you believe you are. If your speech is heavy, it is because you are still carrying the language of limitation. But as soon as you decide to speak, as the one who knows not, the one who fears, the mirror shifts. The world listens. Then yet, the most profound transformation happens, not when you change the words themselves, but when you change the state from which they arise. You cannot fake vibrational truth. If you declare, "I am abundant," while feeling unworthy, the words will echo in emptiness. But if you first sit in stillness, breathe, and remember a moment when you felt complete, even for a heartbeat, then speak from there, the phrase becomes alive. This is the hidden secret. Your state of being speaks louder than your vocabulary. The inner alchemist works not by forcing affirmations, but by shifting inner states. They use breath as the doorway. They enter silence, feel gratitude, and only then speak. The result is a word that carries life, because it was born from coherence. So when you speak, slow down. Let every word pass through the gateway of your heart. If it does not resonate with peace, let it dissolve before it leaves your lips. This is how you become a conscious transmitter of light. Because make no mistake, your words are energy offerings to the collective field. Each phrase you release either nourishes or depletes the web of life around you. To speak kindly is to heal the grid itself, and so speech becomes service. Every time you choose gentleness over cynicism, you stabilize the frequency of the planet. Every compassionate word you offer to yourself becomes medicine for those you will never meet. This is the true miracle of conscious speech. It multiplies beyond your awareness. Now, listen again to your inner dialogue. What does it sound like when you wake in the morning? Is it rushed, self-critical, doubtful? What if you began your day with reverence instead, whispering softly, "I am the breath of creation, awakening in human form"? That single sentence reprograms your field. It tells your subconscious that today you walk as an emanation of the divine. From that point, everything aligns accordingly. You are always one sentence away from a new reality. The challenge is not to find the perfect mantra, but to inhabit the vibration that makes every word sacred. When you speak from love, even silence becomes eloquent. And when you live this way, your speech becomes prayer, not the kind that begs, but the kind that remembers. You begin to feel that every time you open your mouth, you are invoking light into form. This is the essence of spiritual alchemy. Awareness, feeling, and sound merging into transformation. And so, the inner alchemist learns to speak less, but when they do, the world listens. There comes a moment in every seeker's journey when understanding is no longer enough. You begin to feel the need to practice, to embody the truth you've remembered. This is the moment when the inner alchemist steps forward fully, not as an idea, but as a living presence within you. You begin to notice the world around you is built from your vocabulary. Your finances echo how you speak about abundance. Your relationships reflect how you speak about love. Your health mirrors how you speak about your body. Everything in your reality listens to your language. It doesn't hear the intention you wish you had, it hears the vibration you repeatedly express. The first act of practical alchemy, then, is awareness through observation. For 3 days, become the observer of your own speech, not to judge, but to listen. Listen to how you describe your life to others. Listen to how you narrate your failures. Listen to the words that escape your lips without thought, because those are the spells shaping your life. You might catch yourself saying, "I'm always unlucky." Pause. Feel the weight of that statement. See how it lands in your body. Notice the slump in your shoulders, the tightening in your breath. That is the vibration being sent to the field, a command disguised as complaint elite. Now breathe deeply and replace it with something softer, something true but elevated. I am open to being surprised by life. Do you feel the difference? One closes the field, the other opens it. One declares limitation, the other invites possibility. This is the simplest and most profound form of alchemy, word transmutation. You don't need rituals or ceremonies for this. You only need presence. The alchemist's cauldron is the mouth. The philosopher's stone is awareness. But awareness must be paired with compassion. If you catch yourself speaking harshly, do not scold yourself. That only adds another layer of resistance. Instead, whisper inwardly. Even this is transforming. By doing so, you dissolve shame, the heaviest metal of the soul, into light. The second act of practical alchemy is reprogramming through gentle repetition. Your subconscious is the fertile soil of creation, but it responds to emotion, not force. It cannot be commanded, only courted. So rather than repeating affirmations like a soldier shouting orders, speak them like a lover whispering to the universe. Say, "I am safe," not as a demand, but as an invitation for your nervous system to relax. Say, "I am abundant," not as an escape from fear, but as a remembrance of what you already are. The key is emotional resonance. Your words must feel true, not perfect. If "I am powerful" feels too distant, begin with, "I am learning to feel my power." This bridges the gap between your current vibration and the one you're calling in. That bridge is compassion, and compassion is the language of transformation. The third act is vibrational embodiment. Here, you learn to speak not from the version of yourself who wants, but from the version who is. Before you say anything, close your eyes. Imagine the you, who already lives in peace, in abundance, in love. Feel their posture, their breath, their tone. How would that version of you speak? What words would they choose? Then, speak as them. Not about them, not to them, as them. This is the greatest secret of manifestation, to speak from the state you wish to sustain. When you say, "I am healing," speak as the healed one. When you say, "I am loved," speak as love itself. When you say, "I am successful," speak as the one who knows success is simply alignment with purpose. Over time, your outer world begins to echo that inner state. You no longer chase manifestations, you emit them. This is why the alchemist is never in haste. They know that every word spoken from coherence collapses time. The vibration of certainty bends reality faster than any effort born of fear. The fourth act is transmutation through presence. When dense emotions arise, anger, guilt, despair, the old self would react, but the alchemist observes. They breathe into the emotion and speak to it, as to a child, "I see you. You are safe to transform. I no longer fear what you have to teach me." These words dissolve resistance. They open channels for the energy to move. Because emotions are not enemies, they are messengers, carrying forgotten light. When you speak to them gently, that light returns to you. Over time, your inner dialogue transforms from battle to communion. Instead of fighting your mind, you begin to guide it. Instead of silencing your fears, you start to educate them through love. You become the voice of your own higher consciousness, the guardian of your vibration. The fifth act is devotion to the word. This is not about perfection, it is about reverence. The alchemist treats words as sacred instruments. They understand that once spoken, words cannot be undone, but they can be elevated. So they practice daily purification through intentional speech, each morning before the noise of the world begins. They whisper 3 sentences to align their field. I speak light, I hear truth, I create from love. These are not affirmations, they are initiations. Each one anchors you into coherence. Each one signals to the universe, I remember my power. And with repetition, these words start to weave into your aura until even your silence radiates peace. This is how language becomes energy, and energy becomes destiny. But perhaps the most important act of all is listening. Not to others, but to the silence after your own words. In that silence, you can hear reality shifting. You can sense the field responding, rearranging itself to reflect your new tone. It may not happen instantly, but the change is inevitable. Because words, once spoken with awareness, never die. They travel through dimensions until they find expression. That is why patience is an advanced spiritual technology. When you plant new words, give them time to grow. Do not dig them up with doubt. Say your truth once, and then trust. The field has heard you. Remember this. Creation unfolds at the speed of surrender. So speak, release, and let go. Your job is not to control the manifestation. Your job is to maintain the vibration. And soon, your outer world will begin to sound like your inner one, harmonized, coherent, luminous. You will notice it in small things. First, a conversation that once drained, you will now uplift you. Opportunities will arrive not as struggle, but as natural consequence. People will respond differently, as if seeing a new version of you, because they are. The old version spoke unconsciously, recycling frequencies of fear. A new one speaks from awareness, transmitting the codes of divine remembrance. And as your words evolve, so does your destiny. For the alchemist, the spoken word is no longer a habit, it is ceremony. Each phrase becomes incense, rising toward the heavens. Each breath a consecration of the present moment. When you begin to live this way, the world becomes sacred sound. You feel the music beneath the noise, the harmony hidden in chaos. You understand that to speak is to shape the cosmos. To listen is to feel it, respond. And you realize you have always been creating, but now you are creating consciously. There comes a silence at the end of every transformation, the moment when the fire cools. The gold settles, and you finally see what you've become. You began this journey believing your words were ordinary. Now you know, they are the oldest magic in existence. The ancient mystics whispered that in the beginning there was sound, a sacred vibration that split the darkness and summoned light. That same vibration hums within you. It is your inheritance, your birthright, as a being made of consciousness and tone. Every word you speak is a continuation of creation itself. The inner alchemist has discovered this truth not through books or beliefs, but through silence, through feeling the way the world rearranges itself when speech becomes sacred. Because when you speak from love, you are not just communicating, you are harmonizing dimensions. You are tuning the collective field. You are remembering your role as a co-creator in the divine symphony of existence. And slowly, everything begins to respond. You notice the air feels different when you speak gently. You feel your body lighten when you bless yourself, instead of curse your reflection. You sense that each kind word you utter to another being travels far beyond the moment, weaving through unseen realms, softening edges, opening doors you didn't even know were closed. You start to see life itself as a conversation, a dialogue between your consciousness and the infinite. Every experience becomes a reply to something you once said, aloud or in thought. And then comes the most humbling realization of all. The universe has never been silent. it has been echoing you. When you said, "I am not enough," life agreed, not to punish, but to mirror your belief. When you said, "I am ready," opportunities began to move toward you. When you said, "I am love," the cosmos bowed in recognition, because that statement is its own name. Words are not labels. They are frequencies that command reality into coherence. When spoken with awareness, they align matter with intention. When spoken carelessly, they fragment the field. The inner alchemist learns to speak as the gods once did, not through volume, but through vibration. You do not need to shout to move mountains. You only need to speak from the mountain within you, that place of still power that already knows the truth. And here is the final secret. Speech does not end when it leaves your lips. The vibration continues, looping through the ether until it completes its circuit of creation. That is why your words return to you. Every blessing you give becomes the wind that lifts you later. Every curse, a storm that circles back. The alchemist doesn't fear this law. They honor it. They understand that to be given the power of speech is to be entrusted with creation itself. So they speak less, but with devotion. They weigh their words, not in grammar, but in frequency. They know that even a whisper, when born of coherence, carries farther than 1,000 shouts born of chaos. Imagine, for a moment, what would happen if you spoke to yourself as a master speaks to a beloved student, with patience, curiosity, and unwavering belief. If every morning, instead of rushing into the noise of the world, you placed your hand over your heart and said, "I remember who I am," not as affirmation, but as remembrance. Those words alone would begin to dissolve lifetimes of distortion, because the truth does not need to be created, only remembered. The net remembrance begins in your speech. When you say, "I am," pause. Feel the weight of that phrase. It is the original creative code. Whatever follows, it becomes law within your consciousness. So if you say, "I am lost," the field begins to scatter. But if you whisper, "I am guided," invisible hands begin to move. The difference seems small, but on the vibrational plane, it is the difference between night and dawn. This is the divine responsibility of the awakened one, to speak only what you wish to see, okay? Not to escape reality, but to reshape it through remembrance. Because as you speak, you emit frequency, and frequency becomes form. This is why even a single phrase spoken in love can heal. It is why prayers whispered in despair still find their way to light. It is why silence, when filled with awareness, becomes louder than any sound. When the alchemist reaches this point, something remarkable happens. They begin to hear their own words before they are spoken. They sense the vibration forming in the heart before it rises to the tongue. And in that moment, they have the power to choose to transmute. They may feel anger arise, but instead of reacting, they pause, they breathe. They speak truth instead of defense, compassion instead of accusation. And the world around them softens, as if sighing in relief. Because energy no longer needs to battle when awareness is present. This is mastery, not control, but coherence. The alchemist no longer seeks to dominate the world with speech. They seek to harmonize it. They understand that to bless is to command expansion, and to curse is to collapse it. So they bless the rain and the drought. They bless the endings and beginnings. They bless even the silence between them, because they know that within that silence, new words are forming. In truth, you have never been separate from the source that creates through word. You are its echo and its continuation. To awaken as the inner alchemist is to realize that the voice you hear inside is not merely your own. It is the voice of consciousness itself, learning how to love through human language. And love, when spoken, becomes light. When you start to speak from this awareness, reality becomes responsive in miraculous ways. Doors open without knocking. People appear at the right time, carrying messages your soul called for. Synchronicities multiply, not as coincidences, but as confirmations. Because the universe listens most closely to those who speak from love. And so, this becomes your daily ritual, not forced, but natural. When you wake, you whisper, "Today, I speak as creation itself." Throughout the day, you listen. You correct your speech gently, like tuning an instrument. At night, before sleep, you close your eyes and say, "Every word I have spoken returns to me as light," and it does. Your dreams begin to reflect your healing. Your relationships shift. Even your reflection changes softer, brighter, more alive. Because the alchemy is complete, you no longer speak against yourself. You no longer argue with the universe. You have remembered that the two were never separate. Every word you speak now becomes a bridge between fear and faith, between human and divine. And in that realization, you feel something ancient awaken within you, a knowing that your voice was never small. It was the echo of eternity passing through you, waiting to be remembered. So, speak to yourself this way, with reverence, with tenderness, with the calm authority of one who knows that reality listens. When you say, "I am," feel the worlds forming around you. When you bless, feel galaxies realign. When you forgive yourself, feel lifetimes dissolve. This is the mastery you came here to reclaim, not to manifest trinkets of desire, but to restore harmony between your voice and creation itself. Because in truth, every desire you have ever had was the universe longing to experience itself through you. And when you speak in alignment with that desire, when your words become channels for love, you no longer attract from need. You attract from overflow. That is when manifestation becomes effortless, not because you've learned to manipulate reality, but because you've remembered how to merge with it. Every word now is prayer. Every sentence, a vibration of gratitude. Every breath, a declaration that heaven is not a place. It is a frequency, spoken into existence by the heart. So listen, beloved soul. Your next words will shape your next dawn. Your next breath will carry the code of a new world. Speak as if the universe were taking notes, because it is. Speak as if your voice were sacred, because it always was. And above all, speak to yourself, the way creation first spoke to you, with wonder, with faith, and with love. Because when you do, everything you desire begins to find its way back home, to the sound of your own remembering. If this message stirred something ancient within you, allow that resonance to continue. Whisper in the comments the words that you now choose to live by. A declaration, a remembrance, a vibration you are ready to anchor. And if you wish to keep walking these sacred corridors of awakening, subscribe to this temple of sound and silence. Each week, we gather here to remember, to recalibrate, to rise. Your presence is not accidental. It is an answer to your own calling. Until we meet again, speak gently to yourself, because the universe is still listening.